Is it? You're stuck with smoke. You're working on some drawings. Guess the equals operator is private? I mean, so public U object, I would expect to be able to copy a U class. Maybe this should not be a U class, but a U struct? No, it needs to extend U objects been created in assets. Well, I'd like to copy all the values out of this thing. Am I just doing this wrong? Like, should I have a movement data object which has data inside of it? That's a struct that you can edit, and that's how I'm actually supposed to keep this movement data around. Core stuff, yeah. Set maximum velocity. We don't need you anymore. Set velocity. So now we should just have that one equals operator overload issue. Yeah, so I don't really understand this. Like, I would have thought I would have been able to set one U class equal to another and it would just copy the data across, which is what I want. But I have to define an equals operator for it? I gotta Google it. Oh god. So, oh shit. You get some of the worst advice sometimes on some of these forums. Like, I'm looking at how to access the equals operator for a U class that's being generated, and this guy is like, oh well, you just do stuff like this. You just pound define class destruct. You pound define private to public. You pound define protected to public. Then you include the header, and then you just undefine all that shit. It's like, what in the hell have you just... It's just like, you should not do that. You should not ever do that. Let me see, I want to copy U class. You cannot declare a copy constructor. It's a bit different. Most of the concepts. Your standard constructor or initialize. I've seen some class use destructors. For the copy constructor, both new object and spawn have a template parameter. Thank you for following Jip Jacks. Welcome. We are trying to figure out exactly. I'm not super Unreal expert man, so I'm having to go Google a whole bunch of stuff about how I want to copy an object. So to do a copy constructor, I have to actually call new object on it or something like that. So instead of, like for U classes, I guess what you need to have is you need to actually copy the object by creating a new object and using it as a template. And the reason I'm copying the object is I need like a base class, like a base set of physics constraints, and then I need a set of physics constraints that that I currently have, so I want to like copy the initial one. And if I have to like create a new object just to do that, I'm a little disappointed. So I'm thinking maybe I should wrap this object with this U class with a U struct, and the U struct has the actual implementation stuff in it. So if I like grabbed all this crap and threw it off into like a U struct, so I have a U class that contains a U struct inside of it, then when I'm referring to things, I can actually have a null U struct. I mean, a null U class, because you can't have a null U struct inside of stuff that's used by blueprints and the rest. Well, why don't we just double check this? Basically, we want movement data. If we did turn this into we have an initialization constructor. But we don't have a copy constructor. Well, I guess that's just what we'll do, is we'll have a we'll try it out. Excuse me. Just do a U property hanging around here, and we're basically going to have to call new object like this. And we're basically just saying we have to actually do this to copy it, which is annoying. Well, let's see if it works. Yeah, go grab some food. Get refueled so you can get that smoke done. So we will see exactly why this is all freaking out. So we've got new object, convenience template for constructing a gameplay object, convenience template for duplicating an object. So we want duplicate object, source object, outer object, name none. So we want duplicate object is what we're looking for. Give it the source object, our outer object. So that's what we want. Source object, outer object. Outer object is going to be us, I'm pretty sure. The movement object is a U object, so like this and then name. So we just need movement and then this. Pretty sure. Yeah, it looks like it worked. Alright, good. I'll be right back. I'll take a short bio break and I will be right back to fixing up all these physics constants. So let's get back to actually doing some work, why don't we? Kinda not happy I call a new object on something to copy it like that. Duplicate the object. Hopefully it's not incredibly expensive. But we are making a new character when we do this, so I mean it's a new actor, like we're gonna have to allocate something, right? So So we're looking for all of the things that we can do. It looks like we were right here at attempt traverse seam. So we got force stick distance with calculator stick, rotating our vector, sweep. Force stick distance should be delta t here. That looks about right. Horizontal traverse. Is that something that we want? No, we don't want anything messing with that. Physics far enough, it's fine. Tiny float move, not a problem. We already did our mantle height in here for braking and all that stuff. Not a problem. Alright. Now we're locomotion in the air. So gravity velocity is, we're going to set it to F vector 0 vector? Or should we just say like, if blah then blah? So we just have to do our little dance here. So we're just gonna say like if m movement data gravity affects object, then we're gonna grab gravity. Gravity force. Gravity force. Sounds like an old 80s art cartoon, right? Gravity force. You know, maybe like G-force, something like that. I think the gravity vector is fine as this. Do we want gravity vector to be anything other than this? So basically, instead of using gravity vector, should we be using G down? I think we should be using G down. Pretty good one too. Yeah, I know. It's got some awesome stuff. Ken the Eagle, June the Swan. Everybody in that show is super 80s, and it's 70s and 80s. It's pretty awesome. So, where's our jump kill? Let's kill jump force. And one of the things that's really awesome about 80s cartoons and like animes and other things is just how freaking violent they are. Like, it's hilarious. I know in one of the Gundam series, they kill one of the characters. I think it's Cats, and they show it like they're not you know, like modern cartoons, you know, like Naruto or whatever. Somebody will get hit and there'll be like smoke or something, and like you won't know if they're dead. It's like old 80s stuff. Like, no, if they get killed, they will like smash the cockpit and you will see like the person's head explode as part of it. A good example of that is like is this in the old Gundam. Basically, Char is like shooting a freaking bazooka at this lady's head, and you know, he fires the freaking bazooka, and if you take this frame by frame, like super slow speed, like you see him come in, and then her head is literally leaving her freaking body, like boom, and then frame by frame, blood flies out of her freaking decapitated skull, and then this dude gets ripped apart by the shrapnel, just. And then her arm and her torso are flying across the frickin' screen. Like, holy shit! The 80s did not screw around with murdering people. Like that's legit, like, that's a kid's show. There you go. You know, like somebody's freaking torso flying across the screen. So yeah, someone had fun animating that. It's in like the last episode too of the old 0079 or whatever Gundam. Yeah, so this here is the air control one. Early desensitizing, yeah. Alright, max vertical. Max vert. But yeah, I just remember the one scene with this guy where they just kept showing it over and over again, because anime is always like have flashbacks and crap like that where, you know, they'll show people freaking out over somebody dying all the time, and they just the death animation, just like this plane like flies into the cockpit of this other plane. And they show like the glass get crushed, and then the dude's head gets like torn off, and then the plane explodes. So it's this awful thing that everybody just keeps remembering over and over and getting all sad about. You're just like, Jesus Christ! Why are you showing the same thing every like 2 freaking minutes? Like, we get it. His head's gone. You don't have to show it in such graphic detail every damn time somebody brings it up in conversation. But I guess it's necessary. What's this jumpable slope value? Alright. Should be calc 4 stick. Delta T. Because it's funny. Yeah, that's probably what's going on. Is they're just like, this is the point where we stopped giving a damn about the story, and just started caring about awesome shots of people getting mangled. Oh yeah, we don't need that one. Animal's normal. Yeah, we need that. Slidable slope value is what we need again here. And calc 4 stick. This is going to be actual time simulated, looks like. This one, man, ultraviolet scenes, yeah. Alright, so we also need to start implementing some of these toggles. So, like, can, control, and air. We need to look up our air control. Alert float DT, air control, new velocity. New velocity X. So basically what we want to do right here is, if in movement data, can control in the air, we're gonna LARPed by the air control. And once we get some of these toggles in there, the cold's kicking your butt, well, get a sweater. That's what I got. I got the long sleeve light sweater on because it's like 6 in the morning over here. And basement gets a little cold. It's like a concrete floor. I threw like a small little rug, but my feet just gets absolutely frozen. I'm like, ah. But it's good. It'll be pretty nice and cool down here during the summer, which is coming here pretty quick, when it'll be like 100 degrees out, and I will be in my basement just going like, what summer? This is nice. So air control is there, so let's go, keep going. So calc bounds, calc height, calculate velocity, calculate caches, discover physics state, place object, is far enough, yeah, looks fine. Ray trace direction, G down, update snap floor, your tiny float, pen dist, suggesting you pause, it's looking fine. Do we have the ceiling Z friction? Is that a thing? I think it's a thing. Ceiling friction. Yeah, so we should be using ceiling friction. Min jump magnitude. So this is like, where is min jump magnitude? Just like 20? Do we have any variable like can jump? These are all bools. Horizontal, vertical move speeds, or stick distance, wall jump min room, wall jump distance. Do we have a? I don't see a jump minimum, so what we do actually need here is just a jump minimum room. And that's going to be 20.0f. Oh, cold the illness rather than just cold. Ouch. Yeah, people who go into the office while they're sick and make everyone else sick are just a-holes. And like, I remember this one meeting at Amazon where this one lady came in and she was sick and all that. And it was like the leads meeting, and she was like coughing all the time, and the scrum master was just like, you don't look like you're feeling too well, and she's like trying to deliver like a status report, and she's just like choking and dying, and she's like, no, I feel fine, and the scrum master is a lady, and she's saying, no, you should probably go home. You're obviously not feeling well, and then she's like, no, I'm fine, and while like coughing and just obviously doing really awfully, it's just like, no, I don't want anyone else getting sick. We need to like keep this project running, and that means people need to go home. Like, you need to go. Oh, okay, I'll go home. I'll go home after lunch. Like, no, you need to go home now. Like, just like stop talking, leave the room, and get in your car, go home. And like it took like 5 minutes of the scrum master just like, no, like I will have you thrown out of the building. Like, you need to get the hell out of here. This is ridiculous. Before the lead finally got the message that, okay, like, this is crossing the line. You need to get the fuck out of here, please. Thank you. Like, yeah, you need to leave here. Alright, this also needs to check in here. So slide normal z is less than the jumpable slope value. Okay, so we're going to actually break this up a little bit here. So I don't really want to break it up too much. Basically, we need to add right in here that if it's less than the jumpable slope value, so we also need to put in here like basically an if check. So like if m movement data like m can wall jump. Basically, this is if the slope is too low right now, we need to check if you can wall jump, and if you can't wall jump, we need to just not let you. Yeah, it's can wall jump. So if you can wall jump is false, then we need to return false. Otherwise, you can return true. So also this needs to like if movement data, like I think it's can jump. Can jump as false, then we can just return false at the top of this. Yeah, we'll just do if we can wall jump here. If we cannot wall jump, we'll just return false immediately. And the same thing here. So we got jump direction, which is set. We need min jump kickoff room, which is going to be our wall jump minimum room. And that's in the so this is going to be wall jump minimum room. And this is going to be the distance to wall. Alright, cool. Some people just don't get that whole like don't get me sick sort of thing. Slope to start sliding, Z is going to be slidable slope value. Slide nudge, G down, slide normal. It's looking alright. Slide normal, slope to start sliding Z. Alright, so now we need the wall multipliers. The Y mult right here. Be productive all the time. Yes, that is definitely true. A lot of that comes down to just having good leaders on your teams, because good leaders can make it so people feel comfortable enough to make good decisions for not only themselves but everyone else. And a lot of really basic stuff can affect your office. Like, that was one of the things, is I always made sure that our sprints were like, that our sprint planning sessions were on the beginning of the week, and our ends of our sprints were like at the end of the week, so that when you went home on the weekend, like, the sprint was over. Like, if there was anything left to do, we'd already missed the deadline, so you're screwed. It's just not getting done. And you weren't going to get your full plan for what you're supposed to do the next week until you got back on Monday. So over the weekend, people like weren't feeling like they had to do stuff. And a lot of people will have like the end of the sprint be on a Wednesday or something like that. So every weekend, everybody's in the middle of the sprint and freaking out about, when they're at home on the weekend, freaking out about getting stuff done. And that's not what you want. You don't want people freaking out on you. You want people doing their jobs. So let them have their damn weekend. Because if they're just working every weekend for you, they're not going to do their best work. Find best, slide normal. What does annual leave mean? 2 years of actual leave? Like, that's... Do you mean like he had cumulative, the total that you would get, such as, if your leave cap is 200 hours, he had like 400 hours? Or you mean he literally had 2 years of paid time that he could just take off? I know EA caps at 200 hours of leave. And that was awesome. Like, when I left EA, they had to pay me that 200 hours of leave because I had never used it. Or I had it at cap when I left. Well, as long as they didn't cap it, like, depending upon the laws, they have to pay that out. So he should just resign and then apply back for his same job and just take the gigantic bonus. Like, they have to pay that. Just be like, cool, fire me. And you're like, oh shit, if we fire him, we have to pay him $200,000 in cash tomorrow. Because they have like 24 hours to give you the money if you quit and stuff like that. Well, that's what they realized, yes. They realized they had made a horrible decision. Alright, so let's go over this real quick. Let's make sure we got our toggles on. So, are we using can jump? Yeah, we're using can jump. Are we using can wall jump? Yeah, we got can wall jump is implemented. Can control in the air. Can control in the air is looking good. Can move. Can move is not being used. So, can move is basically going to say we can't move. Basically, what we're going to do with can move is just be like, well, you can't move, so can move is false. We're just going to return We don't need to call all this crap. We can just we'll just return DT. It'll be a real quick sort of thing, and just chunk gets finished. It's the same hourly plus 17% loading on top. Nice. Yeah, you're moving over. Well, you get a lot less vacation hours cumulative, I think, in the States than you would in a European country. So, I think that was the thing at Amazon is... So, locomotion on ground, gravity affects object. Alright. Yeah, with Amazon, basically, they don't hand out any holidays, sans the actual holidays they officially have to from the government. So it was really funny at Amazon. Like, you didn't get any days off unless you took them yourselves, which actually made a lot of sense. It's like we're not gonna mandate. We're not gonna give you a whole bunch of holidays. We're just gonna give you hourly pool, and you take your own holidays. So if you don't want to take off President's Day or Columbus Day or whatever the hell, you don't have to. You can take off whatever the hell you feel like taking off. I thought that was good. I don't know, Ploddington. I think you guys are interfering with children's right to work. Don't want to get between those hardworking children and their employers. Because there is a bit of a double-edged sword sometimes with labor laws. Like, for instance, when you're going into something that obviously has a risk, it can actually interfere with stuff like at Molten Games when basically we ran out of money. There was absolutely no way for anybody in the studio to stick around. Oh, that got rolled in shit. So we all knew it was a startup. A lot of people took pay cuts, and a lot of people had like things in their contract where they were going to get a salary increase after the company was profitable and everything like that. Well, not company was profitable, but after a certain amount of time. So everybody knew it was a risky thing. But when we actually ran out of money suddenly, it's not like we ran out of money and had absolutely nothing left. It was you ran out of. There's a threshold there where if you don't have enough money to pay out all the PTO and everything else for your employees immediately or something, then you have to shut down. You can't furlough. You can't do anything else to try to keep the company afloat. You just have to. You're done. Like, your company is over, and it's illegal for you to keep operating. Even if, because we're in a startup, all of us knew, startup is risky, etc., etc. So we basically came back from GDC one year, and boom, it was the guy over in Korea had not gotten the deal we needed, and we didn't have enough money, and they needed to go into crisis mode, but they realized that they didn't have enough money to pay everybody's PTO out, so they literally had to, basically fire everybody immediately and deal with that. When all we actually needed as a studio was another month to secure a publishing deal for the game that we had 11 months of work on, and actually a very good alpha. So what ended up happening is, if we were in a different state, such as Nevada or something, we could have just furloughed, and nobody gets paid for that time for the next 3 weeks, except for the people who were just going and selling the game. But we wouldn't have had to have literally shut down and destroyed, because then the government gets the copy of the prototype and everything. If we if we couldn't. So basically, like, all this work over the last 11 months there is now owned by the state of California, etc. And there's legally you couldn't use it. And it's like, the state of California is not going to resurrect the game studio. Like, it's just, some of them are just crap, and I wish they weren't so restrictive in some respects. Like, if we could, but then again, there's going to be some other, corporation that would exploit the hell out of that, right? Where they'd be like, oh, well, you have to sign this thing waiving your rights for some of the solvency of the company. Otherwise, we're not going to continue stuff here, so. Either way, it's a complicated issue. Yeah, shitty owners, because they exist. It's kind of like the high-tech law in like British Columbia. The only reason they can't force people to stay, and they can't, is because like they can't lock the doors. And the reason they can't lock the doors is because of the fire codes. So the only reason they can't just lock the doors and keep all the engineers in for as long as they damn well please in Canada, at least in British Columbia or whatever, is because of the fire codes. Like, that's kind of freaking scary. They have a specific clause that says high-tech workers are exempt from a lot of the labor law protections that you would expect. But that's why they have a tech industry in that area. Alright, so let's start taking things out that shouldn't be here anymore. So we're going to see G-gravity should exist. Gravity vector, is that used anywhere? No, so we can take out gravity vector. Camera follow speed, penetration distance, is that used? Yeah, that looks just fine. Tiny float is used. Max vertical speed. Yeah, that's wrong. So max vertical speed, don't see it anymore. Excellent. Horizontal speed. Because, yeah, there's some, I don't know if you guys have read the article, but there's a really good one that if you have never read it, is, oh man, the story's gone. Oh no. Okay, somebody copied it. But it's definitely worth, if you've got a little bit of time, to read over this guy's experience. The difference having good leaders and not having good leaders, and how people, especially people right out of college or who have never had a job that actually pays them money, because there's a difference between having a job that pays you money and having a job that like pays you enough money where you can actually kind of afford yourself. Because, if you have a job that just pays, basically jack shit, like, it's minimum wage or whatever, and it's not, and there's a difference between, like, livable wage and then, like, a wage where you're actually financially independent. And if you never make enough money to be independent and do that, you don't really get it through your head that, like, your time is valuable, and the reason why you hire an IT guy or a guy to fix your laptop or mow your lawn or whatever the hell, is because it's actually worth it to you to not have to do that task, so you can do other things in your life better. Like, it's cost effective to hire somebody to mow your lawn because then you're not tired on Sunday, and when you go into work on Monday, you're feeling a lot better or whatever. Because otherwise, you know, if you never had the option in your life to actually spend money to do that, you would never realize that your time is valuable and that you are valuable as a person. So you see a bunch of people like right out of college who just get toasted and don't realize that they're getting taken advantage of. And that's one thing I wish they taught a little bit more in maybe your college or whatever, is the value of your work, and if somebody's screwing with you, how to recognize it. Because there were times where I actually had to like pull up my employee contract. Yeah, what value? You don't have value. You're all worthless. You're peons. There are times where I had to pull out my employee contract and just be like, no, I can do this. It's in here. And it's not something that would like hurt productivity for people. Like having people actually understand fair labor laws and practices, I believe would actually increase worker productivity in our economy. So could actually do quite a good job, because then people would be like, oh, I'm not going to work for you. You're just screwing people over. It's not worth it. Yeah, exactly. It's that sort of crap when you don't realize that it's like, wait a minute, I'm getting screwed here. So we're just going through all these constants that we had been using in this global file that we had. And we're just going through and seeing which ones we're using and where, and if we should replace them real quick. So it's kind of boring, tedious work, but it's pretty brain dead, tedious work, but it's necessary. Yeah, you could hire an entire drafting house. That's the other thing, is there's a lot of waste all over the place that people don't realize. Like I think we discussed on stream the other day how if they hired somebody to just sit in the corporate bathrooms with a little towel and just tell you to wash your hands,